The arena lights flickered like dying stars above the cracked stone floor. Deep underground, far from sunlight and mercy, the cold air smelled of rust, blood, and something old, something forgotten. The chains creaked as she moved her wrists. Slightly, not from pain, but to check if anything had changed. Nothing had. Her body was built for strength and grace, yet now it was covered in chains. They were not normal chains. These were alive, breathing, humming softly in rhythm with her pulse. Each time she moved too fast, they tightened. Each time she closed her eyes for too long, they whispered to her in a language older than thought. But she didn't scream. She never did. Her name was Lysera, last of the Serati, an alien race once praised for wisdom and feared for power. The humans didn't know that when they invaded. They thought they were just landing on a forgotten world full of ruins. But those ruins had memories, and memories held ghosts. And ghosts held rage. It had started with a mining team. They uncovered a chamber beneath the sands of Kevel Prime. Inside, they found her, the sleeping guardian. The humans didn't understand her markings or her bindings. They thought she was some kind of treasure. They pulled her from her prison and triggered a signal. That signal awoke something darker than anyone had expected. Above the arena, far from the chains and whispers, warships began falling from the skies like burning arrows. The Serati were few, but ancient. Machines the size of mountains walked the planet's crust. Humans fought with fire and steel, but they were not ready. Not for this. Not for her kind. But Lysera had been left behind. A relic. A prisoner. She was dragged beneath the arena, displayed like a beast from myth. Her energy was suppressed, her voice silenced by collars. She waited, not because she was weak, but because something was coming. Something dangerous. Something human, they called him Joran. He wasn't a soldier anymore. Not after what he saw in the first week of the war. The way the sky turned red, the way people vanished into light, the way screams echoed across cities with no walls. He left his command, disobeyed orders, started moving alone, started following. Stories of a girl chained beneath the arena, of eyes that glowed blue in the dark, of a voice that sang even when gagged, of chains that melted when she cried. Joran didn't know why, but he felt it. Felt something inside him shift when he heard her name for the first time. Lysera. He wasn't looking for glory anymore. He was looking for truth. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to fix what humanity had broken. He didn't carry much. Just an old plasma knife, a prototype breacher gun, and something colder than fear. Resolve. The guards at the outer ring were mercs. Paid in credits and blood. Joran didn't speak. He didn't threaten. He moved. The first two didn't see the knife until it hummed inside their armor. The third screamed, but only once. Silence followed him like a cloak. Lysera felt the shift in the air before the alarms. Her chains tightened. Her breath slowed. Her eyes glowed brighter than they had in years. She didn't know who it was, but something in the chains reacted. Something old recognized something near. Above, explosions echoed through the arena halls. Metal cracked. Boots thundered. Screams followed. Joran moved with purpose, each step calculated. He wasn't a berserker. He was a storm, controlled, unstoppable. Focused, blood marked the walls. Not much, just enough. Joran didn't kill for fun. Only when he had to, but tonight, he had to. Every corridor felt heavier, the air thicker. Like the arena itself didn't want him to reach her. But he pressed. On he reached the gate. It hissed and pulsed with blue light. A keycard wouldn't work here. It wasn't technology. It was something older. He pressed his hand against the metal. It burned. His skin smoked. But it opened. Lysera looked up as the gate opened. For the first time in years, someone walked in without fear. His eyes locked with hers. Her chains shivered. Her heart did too. But not from fear, from recognition. Joran stepped forward. He saw the chains, the glowing cuffs, the marks on her skin that no human had placed. He didn't ask questions. He walked to her and knelt. He placed his hand on one of the chains. It hissed, then cracked. She gasped. The metal hissed again, then shattered. The first cuff fell. Then, the next, one by one, the chains broke as he touched them. Not from strength, but from something else. Something the metal could not understand. Humanity. She fell forward, weak but alive. He caught her gently. She looked up, her voice barely a whisper. Why? Joran didn't answer right away. He looked around, eyes scanning the walls. Because this isn't where you belong, he said quietly. And because we started this. But you're going to help end it. The alarms were louder now. Reinforcements were coming. Joran stood, pulling her up with him. She could barely walk. He didn't care. He carried her. The path back was not the same. More guards. More resistance. But Joran was already something else now. Not a man. Not a machine. Something in between. Something ancient forces didn't calculate for. A human who wouldn't stop. Lysera held his neck as they moved. Her strength returned slowly. Her breath steadied. For the first time in centuries, she felt something strange in her chest. Hope. And far above, in orbit around the burning world, something stirred. A machine older than any human warship turned its eye toward the arena. A signal pulsed in the void. One word repeated. Over and over. Lysera, asterisk. Joran didn't look back as the alarms screamed behind them. He knew more were coming. He felt it in the vibrations under his boots. But his arms stayed steady as he carried Lysera through the maze of halls, deeper into the stone belly of the arena. Lysera's breathing had calmed. Her glowing eyes stayed half open. She watched him with a strange mix of awe and suspicion. No human had ever touched her without pain. Yet this one broke her chains and didn't flinch. I need to stand, she said softly. Her voice was dry but powerful, like a spark from old fire. Joran paused, nodded, and gently let her down. She stumbled but didn't fall. Her bare feet touched the cold floor like it belonged to her. Where are we going? She asked. Joran pointed toward the tunnel ahead. There's a service lift that leads out the east wall. It's hidden behind an old weapons locker. If the power still runs, it'll take us to the roof access. Lysera nodded, but her eyes flicked back. You killed to get here, she said. You broke into a holy arena. Do you even know who I am? Joran met her gaze and answered simply. No, but I know what they did to you was wrong. She didn't speak again for several minutes. They walked side by side now. She moved slower than him but grew steadier with each step. The longer she stayed near him, the warmer she felt, as if his presence fought the cold in her blood. Behind them, the guards regrouped. A new wave of enforcers entered the corridors. These were not mercs. They wore crimson armor with built-in pulse shields. Silent, ruthless, trained to kill without question. They had one order. Retrieve the prisoner. Joran stopped suddenly. They had reached the lift chamber. It was dark but functional. A panel blinked red near the side wall. He placed his hand on it. The metal hissed, scanned his palm, then unlocked the inner shaft. Get in, he said quickly. Lysera hesitated. She looked back again. She could feel the heat of footsteps in the floor. They're close, she warned. We won't reach the surface in time. Joran didn't blink. Then we fight them here. She stepped into the lift. It was a wide, industrial platform, lined with metal crates and broken tools. Joran stepped in beside her, pressing the panel to close the door. The chamber began to rise slowly, humming like a wounded beast, but the doors hadn't sealed fully when the wall behind them exploded. Fire ripped through the corridor. Smoke poured in. From the smoke, 3 crimson guards emerged with charged pikes and glowing blades. The fight had found them. Joran drew his blade, stance wide. The first guard lunged, swinging downward with a roar. Joran caught the strike mid-air, twisting to the side. His foot kicked the guard into the lift wall. Sparks flew. Lysera ducked. Behind a crate, the second guard fired a pulse shot. It hit Joran in the side. He staggered but didn't fall. His armor absorbed most of it. He threw his blade at the attacker, striking the weapon's core. The pulse gun shorted with a burst of smoke. The third came at Lysera. Her hands still trembled. She had no weapons, no power. But instinct took over. She spun low, grabbed a broken pipe from the floor, and slammed it into the guard's knee. The alien screamed. She hit him again. Joran moved fast. His body blocked her from another shot. The first guard rose again, blood on his lips. "She belongs to the arena," he hissed. "You'll never leave this place." Joran answered with a punch that broke his helmet in half. The lift reached the top as the last guard collapsed. The roof access door slid open, revealing a sky painted with flames. Smoke trails marked where ships had fallen. But air still flowed, light still shined. They were out. Lysera breathed in deeply. The wind hit her skin and carried scents she hadn't known for decades. "It smells like fire," she said. "And freedom." Joran helped her up the last step. The arena roof stretched wide. They could see distant towers, broken flags, wreckage of warships. Drones buzzed high in the air. "We're not safe yet," he said. "This is just the first step." She turned to him, her eyes glowing bright. "Now, why are you doing this?" she asked. "You don't even know who I am. You risked your life, killed your own, and now we're fugitives." "Why?" Joran didn't blink. "Because sometimes wrong things live in bright places, and right things are chained underground." Lysera stared at him, her heart beating harder. She had lived through centuries of silence, pain, betrayal, and now, a single human had undone what entire empires ignored. She didn't understand it, but she accepted it. A low hum rose from the sky. Joran looked up and swore. A patrol ship had spotted them. It turned sharply, lights locking onto their heat signatures. "Move!" he shouted. "We need to reach the edge tower. There's a jump line there." They ran. Joran led the way, dodging debris. Lysera followed, her feet faster now. Her body still ached, but her power was waking. Every step closer to freedom burned through the weakness in her limbs. She could feel her strength return. The ship fired. Plasma rounds slammed into the roof, melting metal and glass. They dived behind cover. Joran aimed his breacher gun and returned fire. The first shot missed. The second hit the ship's wing. It dipped and veered off. They reached the edge. The tower loomed ahead. A narrow platform led to it. Wind howled. Across the gap, Joran didn't hesitate. He grabbed the line hook and launched it. It clamped to the tower edge with a spark. He turned to her. "Hold tight," he said. "This part's going to be insane." Asterisk. Joran gripped the line tightly and fired the zip across the gap. The hook latched into the side of the tower with a loud metallic clang. The cable stretched across the burning sky, shaking slightly in the hot wind. He looked back at Lysera. "We cross together," he said. "Hold on to me, don't let go." Lysera stared at the thin cable, then at the fire below. She nodded once and stepped close. Her hands wrapped around his chest. Her body trembled slightly, but not from fear. From memory, the sky roared as the patrol ship circled again. A second one followed behind it. Alarms echoed across the arena ruins. The entire sector was waking up. Joran didn't wait. He triggered the release and they flew. The wind screamed past their faces. Lysera's breath caught in her throat. The cable groaned as it carried their weight. The tower grew closer with every second, but not fast enough. Behind them, the patrol ships opened fire. A blast struck the wall just below the cable. Heat and debris sprayed upward. Joran shifted his body to shield her. His armor cracked under the heat but held. Another shot came, this time hitting the cable base behind them. It snapped. The zip line whipped backward, but they were already close. With a shout, Joran kicked off midair. They flew the last few meters and crashed into the side of the tower. His fingers caught the edge. Lysera slipped. He grabbed her wrist. Her feet dangled over the void. Below them, flames rose like claws. Her eyes widened, but she didn't scream. Joran gritted his teeth and pulled with everything he had. She rose slowly, inch by inch, until her hand caught the ledge. Together, they rolled onto the platform, gasping, burning, alive. The tower was old and hollow. Inside, broken elevators and long cables dangled from the ceiling. Lysera coughed and wiped soot from her face. "That wasn't insane," she said between breaths. "That was madness." Joran sat beside her, chest rising and falling. "Sometimes madness is all that works," he said. Then he stood, checking his weapon. "We can't stop. There's a passage inside this tower that leads to the underground tramway. We take it west. There's a safe zone in the wrecked colonies." Lysera followed, her steps stronger now. Her body glowed faintly, as if her energy had begun to return. "You still don't know who I am," she said. "Do you want to know?" Joran didn't turn, not yet. "Right now I just want you alive." They entered the tower. It was dark, quiet, filled with the echo of dripping metal and broken circuits. Somewhere far below, something crawled. Joran stayed alert. Lysera kept close. Her senses were waking too. She felt the machines breathing around them. Halfway down, they reached the tramway access. A rusted door blocked their path. Joran forced. It opened with the last power burst from his breacher gun. Inside, the tracks glowed faintly. An old tram rested on the platform like a sleeping beast. Lysera touched the side of the tram. Her fingers sparked against it. The lights flickered on. "It's connected to my kind," she whispered. "Our energy built this world, long ago." Before humans came, Joran stepped inside. The interior was dusty, but solid. He found the controls. "Can you drive this thing?" he asked. Lysera nodded. "If it still remembers me, yes." She placed her hand on the console. Blue light spread across the dashboard. Symbols lit up in a pattern that felt like a song. The tram hummed awake. The doors closed. The engine stirred. They were moving. The tram slid into the tunnel, picking up speed. Darkness surrounded them, but it wasn't cold. The lights inside the tram glowed gently. Lysera leaned against the window, watching shadows pass. "This place was beautiful once," she said. "Before the war." Before the silence, Joran sat. Across from her. "What happened?" he asked. She hesitated, then answered. "We tried to evolve beyond violence. We put our warriors to sleep. We trusted others to be better. We were wrong." "Humans?" Joran asked. "Not just humans," she replied. "Others too, but humans came last. And they came fast. When they landed on our soil, they woke up things we had buried for centuries." Joran's fists tightened. "We always do that. We dig too deep, want too much. Take too fast." Lysera looked at him. "Yet you're not like them. You saved me. Why?" Joran's eyes met hers. "Because if we're going to fix what we broke, it has to start somewhere. Maybe it starts with one person." The tram jolted. Warning lights blinked. Up ahead, the tunnel had collapsed. A pile of rubble blocked the tracks. The tram hissed and slowed. Joran stood quickly. "We'll have to walk from here." They exited the tram. Dust choked the air. The ground trembled softly. Lysera paused. "Something's nearby," she said. "Something alive." and angry. From the rubble ahead, a metal claw burst through. A massive mechanical war beast crawled out. It was an old Serati warframe, repurposed by humans. Red lights glowed in its eyes. It roared like a machine possessed. Joran aimed his gun. "Cover me," he said. This thing was never meant to live again. The warframe towered over them, half machine and half forgotten nightmare. Its legs clanked against the tunnel walls, sparking as they scraped old metal. Its claws dragged sparks across the tram rails. Its voice was a corrupted echo of old Serati command codes. Lysera froze. Her breath caught. "That's one of ours," she whispered, but twisted. Someone rewired its soul. Joran didn't hesitate. He fired his breacher gun straight into the warframe's eye. The blast cracked the outer shell, but it barely slowed. The machine screamed and charged. They dove aside as the claws ripped through the tram behind them. Metal flew in every direction. Lysera rolled and came up behind a stone column. She pressed her hand against it and felt something beneath the surface. Energy. The warframe turned to her, its eye lit with red hate. Joran ran forward, blade drawn. He slammed into the machine's side, slicing along a joint. Sparks flew. The warframe roared again and threw him across the tunnel. Lysera's hands glowed faintly. She whispered to the wall. The stone cracked. From beneath it, ancient lines lit up, runes shimmered. A hidden panel opened, revealing a spear of pure energy. She grabbed it without hesitation. Joran staggered to his feet, bleeding from his side. "If you've got something magic," he growled, "now's the time." Lysera stepped forward, energy weapon pulsing in her hands. The warframe charged again. She didn't run. She spun and struck. The spear sank into its chest. The warframe shrieked, stumbled, and swung a claw at her. Joran jumped in front of her, blocking the strike with his shattered blade. It held for 1 second, then snapped in half. But it gave Lysera the opening she needed. She twisted the spear and released the core. A surge of ancient light exploded from the weapon. The warframe lit from the inside out. Its joints cracked. Its chest split open. It collapsed with a scream of broken code and sparks. The tunnel shook as it hit the ground. Smoke filled the space. Joran coughed, leaning against the wall. "You're full of surprises," he said. Lysera nodded, eyes glowing. "So are you." They moved deeper into the tunnels, stepping over wreckage. The glow from Lysera's hands lit their path. She said little now, her focus turned inward. She was remembering more, feeling more. Her power was no longer sleeping. Joran's wounds bled slowly. He winced with each step. Lysera noticed and placed her hand on his side. "Hold still," she whispered. Her touch glowed blue. The wound closed. The pain faded. He stared at her in shock. "That's not healing tech," he said. "That's something else. It's a memory," she replied. "Of what we once were." They found a maintenance door at the end of the tunnel. Beyond it lay a vertical shaft, a lift long dead. Lysera touched the panel. "We can't go up." "We go deeper," Joran nodded. "Deeper into what?" She looked down the shaft. "Into the cradle, where the Serati were born, and where something still sleeps." They climbed down using broken ladder rungs and old cables. The shaft echoed with strange sounds. Metal creaks. Wind that had no source. Whispers that came from no mouth. Lysera moved without fear. Joran followed with blade pieces strapped to his back. At the bottom, they stepped into a cavern so large it swallowed sound. Glowing crystals lit the air in shades of green and violet. In the center stood a tower made of pure black stone. Carvings moved across its surface, alive, watching. "This is it," Lysera said. "This is the well of waking. The humans never found this place. But your soldiers are close now." They followed us without knowing what we were leading them toward, Joran stared at the tower. "What's inside?" he asked. Lysera's face was unreadable. "My sisters. My brothers. Sleeping. Waiting. I was the last left to guard them. Until they chained me." He looked at her carefully. "If they wake, will they help us, or burn the galaxy?" Lysera walked to the tower and placed her palm on the surface. It pulsed beneath her hand. "That depends," she said, "on whether." "I still believe in mercy." Joran stepped beside her. "You're not alone anymore. Whatever comes out, I'll face it too." A deep rumble answered them. The tower opened like a blooming flower. Light flooded the cavern. And from the depths, shadows began to rise. From the heart of the black tower, the shadows took form. They moved slowly at first, like figures rising from deep water. Each step they took shook the crystal floor. Their eyes glowed with the same blue fire that burned in Lysera's veins. These were the Serati Guardians, ancient protectors bound by oath and blood. Their armor flowed like liquid metal, their bodies tall and lean, shaped by old stars. One by one, they circled the glowing center of the tower and stopped. Joran watched them with his weapon lowered. These beings were not just old, they were sacred. They carried the silence of centuries in their movements. And they were all looking. At Lysera, she stepped forward, her voice steady. "I broke my chains. I woke by human hands, but I stand as I once did. First Guardian. Flame of the Vault. Last voice of the fallen choir. Do you know me?" One of the Serati stepped forward. He held a long spear carved with flowing light. "We know you," he said in a voice like distant thunder. "We watched you chained. We felt your silence. We did not wake, because you did not call." Lysera lowered her head. "I call now." The humans broke the peace. They dug into our bones and wore our machines. They forced the warframe back to life. But not all of them are enemies. She turned to Joran. "This one fought to free me, risked everything. He is not our enemy. He is my witness." The Guardians looked at Joran. He stood firm. "I don't want power. I don't want control. I just want to fix what my people destroyed. If that means dying down here, so be it." The lead Guardian raised his spear. "Then let your blood seal this vow," he said. "Not in sacrifice. In unity, human and Serati. Bound once more." Joran stepped forward. He raised his hand. Lysera placed hers over his. The Guardian lowered the spear and touched both their hands with the blade's edge. A blue spark passed between them. Neither flinched. The chamber pulsed with new energy. The light grew stronger. The Guardians knelt. Lysera stood taller. Her voice rang with command. "Then we rise, not in rage, but in reckoning. If war is coming, we will not hide." Far above, in the surface cities, the sky turned red again. Ships hovered above burning towers. Human armies moved through broken streets. But now something answered beneath their feet. The Guardians marched through the ancient tunnels. Walls responded to their presence, opening paths long forgotten. Lysera and Joran led them through the dark, heading toward the nearest surface breach. They moved. Joran noticed how the walls lit wherever Lysera stepped. Her body was no longer just alive. It was connected to this place, to its heart. "You were never just a prisoner," he said. "You were the key," Lysera nodded. "They feared me because I was the door. And they chained me so no one else could open it." The last gate opened into an abandoned human station. Concrete walls cracked with age. Rusted weapons hung on broken racks, but the comm system still flickered. Joran activated it. "This is Joran Tell, former captain. Broadcasting on all bands, cease all forward advance. Repeat, cease all fire. You have awoken something ancient. And it's coming up." He didn't wait for a reply. Lysera placed her hand on the main panel. The lights in the entire station turned blue, then gold, then all screens showed one symbol. The mark of the Serati flame. Outside, human soldiers paused. Their weapons lowered. Drones spun in confusion. From the cracked horizon, light rose not from fire, but from beneath. Glowing towers pushed through the earth. And from them, the Guardian stepped into the world again. Lysera walked through the center. Her spear gleamed. Her voice reached all corners of the broken city. You feared us once, then forgot us. Now you must choose. Stand beside us, or fall beneath us. Joran walked beside her. Not behind, not above, but beside. And that alone changed the meaning of everything. The world paused as Lysera and Joran stepped into the open. The Guardians followed behind them, their armor glowing like moons in the ruins. Human soldiers held their positions, uncertain, fingers twitching on triggers but not firing. Hover drones buzzed silently in the air. Command units tried to make sense of the incoming feeds. Some officers shouted for scans. Others demanded fire. But none of them could deny what they were seeing. Ancient power walked the surface again, and it was not angry. It was awake. Lysera raised her hand. A signal pulsed out from her palm. The city's defense turrets shut down. The skies cleared of interference. Every weapon controlled by old-world tech bent to her command. Joran opened a private line to the command HQ. If you fire on her, you'll wake the rest of them. There are hundreds, thousands. You'll not survive this war if you start it today. A long silence followed. Then a reply came. We want proof of peace, the voice said. We want this to end. Lysera closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her voice echoed without sound. A wave passed across the city. Every Serati machine froze. Every fallen warframe crumbled. The city fell into complete stillness. The humans lowered their weapons. No orders needed. What they saw was not submission. It was mercy, offered once. No more. Joran looked at Lysera. They're listening. What now? She stared at the horizon. Now I speak, as flame-bearer. As witness unchained. The Guardians knelt behind her. The humans formed a wide circle. Command ships hovered silently above. Lysera stepped forward and raised her voice. We did not come for revenge. We came for truth. You chained what you feared. You silenced what you could not understand. But we have returned not to destroy, but to restore. She pointed to Joran. This human broke the silence. Not with weapons. With will. He crossed fire and steel to reach me. He gave without taking. That alone makes peace possible. Joran stepped beside her. His armor cracked. His blood dried on torn plates. Yet he stood taller now than ever before. Not because of power, but because of choice. From the crowd, a general stepped forward, unarmed. He removed his helmet and bowed. I will listen, he said. I cannot change the past, but I can answer to the present. Lysera lowered her hand. The Guardians rose. The ground shook slightly as old tech returned to dormancy. Peace hung in the air like ash after a storm. Joran looked around and whispered, Is this how it begins? Lysera answered, No, this is how it continues. The first chance in 1,000 years. If they don't break it. In orbit, human fleets shifted formation. Some retreated, others held. But none attacked. The silence in the sky was louder than any war cry. In the hours that followed, embassies were formed. Soldiers removed helmets. Guardians taught old languages to new leaders. Across battlefronts, ceasefires lit like wildfires. The impossible was starting to take shape. Lysera and Joran returned to the tower, not as fugitives, but as founders. The chains she once wore now rested in the museum chamber, melted down into a single ring of alloy. A symbol of what was and what could be. And in that moment, beneath a sky no longer burning, two worlds began to heal. Weeks passed. The world began to change. What once was a war zone now grew with new life. Human engineers worked beside Serati guardians, learning the language of the stone and stars. Weapons were dismantled. Towers were rebuilt. And the arena, where she was once chained, had become a place of peace. Lysera stood at its center. No more chains, no more silence. Only memory. Children watched from the steps, both human and Serati, their eyes filled with questions and wonder. She smiled at them. Joran approached from the south corridor. He wore no armor today. Just a simple tunic marked with the symbol of unity. His steps were quiet, but Lysera felt him before she saw him. "They asked me to speak again," she said without turning. "I told them the last speech was enough." Joran stopped beside her. "But they want your voice," he replied. "Not just your power. Not just your title. Your voice made the world pause." She looked up at the sunlight breaking through the open roof. "I used to dream of that sky. Even in the dark, even in chains. I never thought I'd see it again." "You didn't just see it," Joran said. "You changed it." They walked together through the arena floor. Where once there were cages, now there were gardens. Where once there were guards, now there were artists. Stone walls carved with scenes of the Great Return. The Guardians had chosen to remain underground, not in hiding, but in silence. Their work was done. They would speak again only if needed. For now the future belonged to those who dared to live in it. At the north end of the arena, a statue stood. Half human, half Serati, two figures holding one spear. Below it, the words, "Peace is not found. It is made." Joran read the words again. He had read them many times, but today they felt different. "Do you think they'll remember?" he asked. Lysera nodded slowly. "If the world forgets again, then we will remind them," she said. "With truth, with stories. Not with fire." From above, a hovercraft approached. It bore the mark of the United Circle, an alliance formed from ashes. The World Council had called for Lysera. Another world was calling for help. Not with war, but with wisdom. "You don't have to go," Joran said. "You've already done more than anyone expected." Lysera turned to him. Her eyes glowed softly. "I was never meant to stay in one place. I was born to guard what mattered. Now I am free to choose where I stand." Joran smiled faintly. "And if I asked you to stay?" She stepped closer. Her hand touched his. "Then I would ask you to come with me." The hovercraft landed. Its doors opened. They walked forward together. The children watched. The sky remained clear. The future remained unwritten. And the one who had once been chained beneath the arena now soared above it, unbroken.